For this last video of the section, we are going to look at an example of where we can use this knowledge of the straight line function or the linear graph outside of the maths classroom. We call this an application type question where you have to make connections with the math knowledge that you have and where you can apply that in a different area of your life. So let's read carefully and try and make sense of it. Joyce starts a business and she needs a plan. Okay, that's a good idea. She wants to understand her business expenses. That's obviously also a good idea because your business is not going to do very well if your expenses are out of control. Okay, let's keep reading. Her fixed costs. So that is a cost that you have to pay every single month, right? So when you pay rent for a flat or a house or whatever, it's a fixed cost that would be the same every single month. For her container that she needs to rent. So she is going to rent for 150 Rand per month. Okay, so every single month that would be an expense. She will be selling her handmade candles. To make one candle, that would cost her 35 Rand. Okay, so that's obviously an expense. It's money that she needs to spend to be able to make this candle. Then it says that she makes 50 Rand profit. Profit. So it's not what she's selling it for. That is the profit that she's making from every single candle that she sells. Okay, so far we know that every month she has to pay a fixed cost of 150 Rand. We know that the cost to make a candle would be 35 Rand. And now we need to figure out what is the selling price of the candle if the profit that she is making is 50 bucks. Well, if she's making 50 for every single candle after she spent the 35, surely her selling price for a candle is 85. Because if you take the 85 and you subtract the 35 that she needed to make that, then her profit for the candle would be 50 bucks. Okay, I don't actually know if we're going to need that information, but we're just trying to make sense of what they're giving us. We most probably already anticipating some of what they're going to ask anyway. Okay, question 1. Write a linear equation that needs to mean something to us. Where EX, I hope that notation kind of rings a bell for you. Think about that idea of where we had f of x and g of x. It's just a notation, right? It's a notation for an output value. Or where e of x are her total expenses, so that represents the total expenses. So e of x represents her total expenses. So my output value is total expenses. And X is the number of candles that she makes. Okay, X number of candles. X is the number of candles. So think about it. If X is 2, she made 2 candles. If X is 3, she made 3 candles. If X is 10, she made 10 candles. It's as simple as that. They want us to write a linear equation that represents her total expenses. Which things will money be coming out of her pocket? Well, her monthly rent will be coming out of her pocket every single month. And then obviously the cost to make the candle. All of that would be part of her expenses equation. So let's have a look. Okay, so we don't know how many candles she's making. So we can't say exactly her expenses will be 200 Rand. We're just going to write an equation that represents her total expenses. So this would represent her total expenses. If she makes, well, we don't know how many candles she's making, but we do know that for every single candle that she makes, if we times that by 35, it will give us her expense. Think about that. 1 candle, 35 Rand. 2 candles, 70. 3 candles, 105. So in the place of X, we just substitute the number of candles that she is making. One she tells us, of course. But that's not the only expenses. we need to add this expense, the plus 150. We're not going to multiply the 150 by X or anything like that. For the total expenses, it will be the number of candles times by 35. And then for every single month, this is a monthly expense, we will just add 150. Because even if she makes one candle, she still needs to pay that $150 to rent the space. And there is a linear equation that represents her total expenses. If she tells us how many candles she made, then we can tell her exactly what her expense will be for that specific month. Let's look at the next one. Use the equation, so the one above obviously, to calculate her total expenses, or what her total expense will be for August, so for a month, if she makes 50 candles. So this represents the number of candles that she's making. In this case, our X will be 50. Let's use that equation. So her total expenses will be 35 times 50, and then we have to add the rent. It's always going to be there. It is a fixed cost. So when we work that out, 1,900. So for the month of August, her expenses for making her 50 candles and renting her space would be 1,900 Rand. Now they want us to go draw the graph of this function. We can do that. It takes on the form of y is equal to mx plus c. We can substitute input values and we can get outputs out. I put the Cartesian plane there for us that we can use, but we just need to think about that and we need to think about the context. If our y is there and our x is there, that would be the number of candles, and then the vertical axis, our expenses. But let's think about it. In this case, we're not going to have points where x is negative because it's the number of candles that she makes. Even if she makes a flop, we're not going to consider that as a negative X value. And then if we think about our Y values, we are going to measure her expenses, money that she is spending on a business. We are not going to have negatives over there. So we are only going to be working where X and Y are both positive. So I just copied the first quadrant there, where we've got Y and X. X would be the number of candles that she makes, and this would be her total expenses in Rand, of course. We just quickly need to figure out what the scale is going to be. So let's make this, I hope this is going to work, 2, 4. So over here, let's put 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30, 35, 40, and 45 and 50 candles made. Okay, perfect. Let's go use a table. We're going to use a certain amount of candles that she made, and then we are going to see how much money she has to spend to make that happen. So if we use that she made 10, well, first of all, we have to go plot her Y. All right, so let's say after she's made 10 candles. So after she's made 10 candles, that would cost her 500 Rand. So 10 candles will cost her 500 Rand, which would be in the middle over there. And then after 20 candles, that should be 950. 950 should be somewhere there. And obviously we can keep going, but that just forms a nice linear function where Joy will be able to track her business expenses. I'm just fixing that one quickly. There's our y-intercept. And there we go. So we can obviously read more information off there. So from that, we can tell that after she's made 30 candles, we go there and we read it and we know how much, if we read it off the graph accurately, how much that will cost her. Or we can look at it the other way and we can say, okay, let's have a look on the graph. After she spent 2,000 Rand, let's see how many candles she would have made by then. And that looks like, well, that is accurate. According to the graph, if we read it off the graph, that would be roughly 45 candles. In the last question, it says, write a linear equation, P of X, where P of X represents her profit and X is the number of candles. Okay, we can do that. She told us how much profit she makes. She said it was 50. So the output, what would her profit be in Rand if she makes 50 per candle? Well, we don't know how many candles she has sold, so that's why it would just be 50 times however many candles she sold. If she sold one, it would be 50. 2, 100. 3, 150. So we just plug into X however many candles she sold. So if she maybe tells us for the month of August she sold 100 candles, then we would just put it in there. 50 times 100, and then the profit that she makes would be 5,000.